Good morning, everybody. I'm
Morning.
so glad to be back with Trevor.
Same here, Sterling.
I know, it's been over a month since we've been together. I hope everybody is having a good summer. I can't believe July 4th is next week.
Wow, it's like half the summer and it's so hot out. I hope everybody's trying to stay cool.
Oh, I know, and today's supposed to be a doozy.
A doozy.
Ooh. Well, we have kind of a different show for you today. We kind of started brainstorming over what we really haven't talked about and what seems to be pretty timely with the market right now as it relates to prices and how we come up with those prices and how we kind of come up with the range and when it's time for a price change or, reduction, improvement, as we say. So let's get right into it.
Well, let's do it. And wherever we go, I think even you all, when you're at a gathering or whatever, everybody wants to talk about real estate.
Yep.
So there are a couple of things that the public really depends on. And even, I bet, Sterling, when you're traveling, what do you do when you want to know a value of a property? You'll pull up Zillow. And you know what? They have a great platform. They're a huge company, and they're not going away. They do a great job, and we as realtors love them or not.
Love them, hate them at the same time, right?
Embrace it because
That's right.
they do a great job. So the Zestimate, that's what, everybody
uses that word too. When you go to their house, they've already looked it up.
Sellers, buyers, other agents. So what exactly is a Zestimate? And it's really just an algorithm that Zillow does, and they do it well. But it's not. They don't go to houses, of course. They don't have appraisers out there looking and going. They have to just take data and do an algorithm that helps put values on houses, and it's a big range. Sometimes it's a shorter range when it's more they have more data to work with, but usually it's a pretty large range.
And it can be pretty accurate if the home is sitting in the middle of a like neighborhood. If everything in the neighborhood is similar, and like a track built kind of like homes.
And there have been lots of sales.
And there's been lots of sales. Then the Zestimate is a pretty good idea because True is just taking a mile radius, right?
Right.
Zestimate.
And it's data from public records, and if that's even accessible. And they do take some information from the MLS because they pull it, and that's the multiple listing service, and that's the true data that realtors enter in.
Yep.
And it's what we really depend on. And really good agents, we look at that maybe 10 times a day.
Yeah.
And really good agents actually go out and preview properties, because even if they don't have a client, they'll go out and preview them because they want to know if they're going on a listing appointment, what's their competition. If they have a buyer, they want to know exactly what is out there so they can fine tune and not waste time and know exactly what to show them.
Well, and often when you walk in a home, it speaks to you differently than the images on the screen. And so then you may, think of another buyer after you see it.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. So true. And then some buyers come in and they're like, oh my gosh, this looks nothing like the pictures.
Yes, yeah.
There are lots of things that go into a house when you go in. There's one agent in our office that always, the smell is is really a big part of the showing. You can't smell on the photograph. So.
Yeah, that would be me. Okay, so Zestimate is one. So let's talk about RPRs.
Yeah, what does RPR stand for?
You've probably heard that phrase if you've remotely looked at houses or thought about listing your home. But that's something we as realtors use more often than the public. The public's looking at Zestimate, so now we're going to look at RPR.
Yeah, and the RPR is only available to realtors. So it is a member service from NAR. So it is
National Real Estate Association.
National Real Estate Association. So it is a digital platform and database managed by NAR as a benefit for its members. So it really digs in. MLS also takes public data, but it's really interactive. So it's really like if something closes, it can change like within the day. So Zestimate might not be as is quick. So we love to look at that RPR as realtors. Now we don't.
The other thing, it kind of takes into account like homes.
Yes.
Whereas Zestimate is really looking at this mile radius around. The RPR is trying to help an agent pull in like homes for comps.
That's exactly right.
Not always perfect, but
Not
pretty
always,
good. Yep.
And I think a lot more accurate than the Zestimate.
Yes. Yes.
So then there's the actual appraiser who comes out. Now he or she is licensed. They have to apprentice for 2 years. I mean, or even more maybe. They are really in depth. That is a true accurate value of your property.
And also an appraiser. So there's an appraiser who can do conventional loans, and then they have a separate license or designation. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what it actually is called when it comes to government-backed loans for an appraiser.
Yes.
So that would be USDA, FHA, VA loan types.
That's right. And they train for those particular because they're a little more stringent.
And then, Trevor, we talked about kind of the fourth way home price is evaluated is just comps. You know, because not always is there a good RPR or a good Zestimate when the home is really unique or nothing around it has sold within, you know, a 6 month or a year period of time, then we have to go pull comps that are truly pulling our best guess, which is more like what an appraiser would have to do.
Absolutely. And that's why knowing your MLS and even previewing helps so much. And, you know, the experienced agent can really do some accurate comps and an accurate evaluation of your property.
Yep. I was telling Trevor this morning because we knew we were going to talk about this, and she was doing a lot of the legwork on pulling some of the information that unfortunately I have a listing right now, and it has been on the market. They wanted to kind of try it at the top of the range, and it has been on the market, and the Zestimate and the RPR, as other things have closed, has changed, and not for the better for this seller, has changed over the months that the home has been on the market.
Wow, so it actually is. I didn't realize that it really changed that much, so that's super interesting.
Yeah. Well, I usually save the documents that I use when I first put it live, so I'll remember the homes. So I save those in my file, and so I was able to see several months ago. No, it's been a few months because they really hope to start at the top of the range, which is always the seller's option to do. But on the flip side, you know, it has not proved to be beneficial to start with such a high asking price because now the public and real estate agents are going to be able to see that we are even higher above the Zestimate and the RPR.
Right.
Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
So when you decided on the price with the seller, was it kind of on the top of the range?
It was closer to the top of the range.
See, and that's what sellers really want to do. So sellers want the most, buyers want the
least. Which I understand. You cannot go up. You can only go down, but it's just important to be really timely. And aware that you are probably a buyer at one point, and this time you're a seller. And so what is it that you're looking for when you're the buyer?
Right. Well, and as a seller, we want you to get the most too.
Absolutely.
But we don't want your house to sit there way long. That's stressful. You know, you want to move on. So that's where our little topic is coming to. So I did some data on this year. The houses that sold in 5 to 6 days in Nash County, they really, I'll read a couple of them for you. Let's see, number
5 to 6 days. That's great for
Isn't that
right now.
5 to 6 days.
Yes.
So there was one that started, it listed at 284. Okay. And the RPR was 275 to 3045.
Okay.
And the RPR actual estimate was 290. The Zestimate was 292.4 with a range of 193 to 442. So look at that huge range. That means Zestimate really wasn't
Didn't know.
confident. So
Yeah.
So the buyers and sellers out there are thinking, "Ooh, I can get 440," but that is way high. So where did they list? 284.
So below.
Yep, 284. It's kind of below the RPR.
Yep.
And guess what happened? It sold for 290. So it went up a little bit. There was a bidding war, I bet.
Yep.
So the second one, they started at 308. The RPR was 302 to 315. The average 308 is what they recommended. Zestimate 283 to 339. Again, a bigger range. But they recommend 310, 700, 310. So it started at 308 and it sold for 308. So it's really right on track with the RPR, and it only was on the market 5 days. The last example is one that started at 314.9. The Zestimate was 315. No, sorry, the RPR was 315,720, and the Zestimate was 315,800.
I love it when they're so close like that. I do too.
So close. The range, though, for RPR was 309 to 322. Zestimate about the same, 300 to 332. So where did they list? At 314.9, and it sold at 312.5 in only a few days.
So it really, your trend there is exactly what you and I both see. It matches on paper and it matches what we feel. So when the range is presented to a seller or a buyer, but when the range is presented and you go at the top of that range, it is really hard when there are other properties on the market that are within that range or just below. Those are the ones that are getting the most quick traction.
So let's look at the ones that stayed on the market for 150 days plus. And this is some of them are at 300 days. So they started at 285. The RPR range, I'll just say the RPR recommendation was 223. So they started at 285. The Zestimate estimate or recommendation is 224.8. So they're both, 220s. They started at 285. It sat on the market for 200 plus days. I think it was 300 days. And guess where it sold?
Right on point.
224. So they just wasted a lot of time and stress and
what I see
payments.
Sometimes, Trevor, is people are really focused. We've talked about this many times on price per square foot.
Yes.
And the price per square foot of what has sold based on the Zestimate or based on the RPR might be on point. However, I have another one right now, and the home is much larger in the neighborhood. And so when the sticker price is, when that sales price begins with a 4 or a 3 or a 5, and everything in that neighborhood has sold in the, $100,000 break below, it is so much larger and the price per square foot is okay, but it's not sitting well with the buyers. So that kind of plays into this.
Yeah, it does. Okay, another example is their list price was $300,000. The Zestimate was $256. RPR $258, and guess where it sold? $255. So again, it was on the market for 300 days.
Plus days. Okay.
That's a lot of time. So another example, they started at 365. RPR was 326. Zestimate 326, very similar. The ranges were a little
different for the two of them, I can see.
A little different. And then guess where it sold? 325, right around where those RPR and Zestimates are. Last one started at 248.9, RPR 235, and Zestimate was not available.
Okay.
Guess where it sold? 210.5.
Whoa.
So that's a really...
They were ready to let it go then.
Yeah. And the range was 223 to 247.
When you talk about different agents and pulling comps, if you have to pull comps manually, Trevor and I are both a member of the local MLS, which is Flex MLS. How many counties does that cover? Is it 28?
Oh, it's a lot. It goes all the way to the coast.
I want to say it's 28, but I wouldn't take a
I
lie
think it's-
detector test
I think
on
it's
that.
more.
You think it's more?
Yeah,
Okay.
all the way to the coast. It's
Um,
really nice. We can see that. And then we're also members of the
and
Triangle.
Yes, which is really nice to be able to pull, because sometimes people have a friend or a connection in the Triangle and they are going to list their property here. And so that property only goes in the Triangle MLS, which is a disservice truly to that client, because you want to put your property in the saturated MLS. And so we are able
Right.
to pull comps from both. And a
go
lot of
from-
times we have to if it's a complicated property.
We do, yeah. So we go from the coast to the mountains.
Yes,
really.
right. That's right.
Um,
That's right.
So I think we're running out of time,
I
and I'm sad because we
know.
still have. I had Edgecombe County, and I
had a
wanted to
couple of
compare to
things, too.
last year.
Well, we'll
So what
have
do
to
you
bring
got?
it back next time then
Yeah,
and
I
finish
think-
some of this
I
discussion.
think so. Because it reminds me of the phrase that Ken Warfield would always say.
What?
And it sounds kind of, but it's very farm-like. The pig gets fat, the hog gets slaughtered. Because that's what, when you're doing your estimate and on the top of the, let's just be honest with our properties, and then you'll get them sold quicker.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so glad to be back with Trevor and
Same.
glad to be back with you all. I hope you have a great 4th of July.
And if there's anything you want us to talk about, please let us know.
Oh, yes, yes. That's our phone number to the office. Please let us know. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Stay cool. Thank you.